Hi, my name is Chris Holton Jablonski, and it is my great joy and my deep honor to serve you as your minister. On some level, it has been amazing to think of our troops finally leaving Afghanistan. In the church I served for many years with my wife, we had a picture of her cousin, Luis Torres, in his full uniform with an American flag flying behind him. He died just outside of Kandahar, killed by an improvised explosive device. Every time I stepped into that pulpit, I saw him there and I thought of him. I thought of all of our troops actively serving, of all who had died on all sides of the conflict. We were there for so many years, but change comes. I just found this quote from Robert F. Kennedy, which I really love. He said, "To say that the future will be different from the present is to scientists hopelessly self-evident. I observe, however, that it can be heresy. It can be denounced as radicalism or branded subversion. There are people in every time and every land who want to stop history in its tracks. They fear the future, mistrust the present, and invoke the security of a past which never, in fact, existed." I was just up in the North Country at Lake Umbagog for some camping with my kids. It was beautiful as always. Campfires, hot dogs on sticks, marshmallows, loons singing at night, fish caught, paddling adventures, swimming. Every time we have gone, now multiple trips each summer for 8 years, every time I have gone, especially these last few years, I have reveled a little bit in the math. Nothing had ever gone wrong. Sure, some rain, but that's to be expected and planned for, and truth be told, a little bit fun because it shifts activities and brings the team together. I mean, nothing major had ever gone wrong until this year. I had brought the kids backpacking hammocks, one for each in their favorite colors, and they set them up in a triangle of trees. At one point, they all got into their hammocks and were singing, "I'm a banana, I'm a banana," all together, each in a banana cocoon. It was beautiful. And so it was on the second day that my 11-year-old son, Jack, was getting into his hammock and didn't quite spread it all the way open before sitting into it and fell out backwards and landed on a root on his back. He's fine now, but in the moments after the injury, he seemed that he might not be okay. He had knocked the wind out of himself, which, if you can imagine, the first time you do it is pretty scary, but he was also in some pretty significant pain. I won't go too deeply into the details, but here it was, our first medical emergency. And we are far away from the state park headquarters when we do these remote campings. So we decided to call the rangers for them to come pick us up and head back, just to be sure we didn't need a doctor. Ben and I packed up the campsite in record speed. Jack was more mobile, and with the help of a little Motrin and the passage of time, he was in less pain. After a hectic packing and gathering everything for the boat trip to pick us up, I took my first deep breath. All was well. We'd only been there for one night out of 3, which was a bit sad, but my kids were safe, and we would be sure to get Jack any help he needed. And there on the shore, as we waited for the boat to bring us back to our car and eventually home, a pine cone fell on the bill of my hat making a very loud noise. And it jolted me into presence and awareness. I looked at my kids. Ben, now a man-child of 13, big enough to really help pack us up. I first brought him to that same lake when he was 5 years old, so little. The two of us in our canoe paddling out, him talking pretty much the entire trip with his fascinating mind. And Jack, now 11, having moved through a tough year in the pandemic, growing into himself, learning so much, facing this emergency with calm and groundedness. And my little girl, concerned about her brothers, doing her best to keep up with them, learning so much, growing so much. And me, now almost a decade older than the first time I paddled into this water with just the one son. Blessed now with these 3 kids, with this wonderful wife, with this precious ministry here with you all. I was so grateful in that moment with that pine cone, jolted into gratitude. Like Kennedy said, the future will be different than the past. And so our choices matter. Our witness matters. Our advocacy and agitation, our passion and commitment, all of this matters because the future is not yet written. We returned home to news of the floods in Europe, to still more tangible evidence of climate change on top of record temperatures. This future, too, is not yet written. There is so much we can do. Stay tuned for invitations from our FCB Green team. And with church branching into multi-platform ministry this fall, in-person Sunday worship, so many opportunities to connect and serve still online as well. Our future at the church will be different from this present. And this is how it should be. This is how growth is, how life is. As I said before, Jack is well, just a bit of a scratch on his shoulder. And we are headed back up to the lake for one last time this summer in just a few weeks. And I will keep that pine cone here in my office to remind me, especially as this year begins, as we move into this changed and changing future, to remind me to flow into the unknown with ease and curiosity and wonder, knowing that change always is, but to also take moments to stop and savor, to appreciate what is. This is now the beginning of my 3rd year with you all. It feels like just a moment. And coming out of our last year, full year of COVID, it also seems like a lifetime. I am, as ever, so very grateful for each and every one of you, especially for you all watching this or listening to this, for the precious gift of your attention. I am so grateful for this moment we are all sharing, and for all that comes next. So much love to you all. Amen.